No one can resist Jimin's charm, especially Jungkook. The studio was unusually quiet that evening. Outside the large windows, Seoul was beginning to disappear beneath the soft colors of sunset. The city lights slowly came alive, one by one, while inside the studio, the familiar sound of music echoed through the room. Jimin stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the collar of his shirt after finishing another rehearsal. His hair was slightly messy, and a few strands had fallen across his forehead. He looked tired, but there was still a gentle smile on his face. Across the room, Jungkook sat on the floor with a bottle of water in his hand. He had been watching Jimin for several minutes. Not obviously. At least, that was what Jungkook told himself. Jimin suddenly caught his reflection in the mirror and looked directly at him. "Why are you staring at me?" Jungkook immediately looked away. "I wasn't." Jimin laughed softly. "You definitely were. I was looking at the mirror." "The mirror is over there." Jungkook glanced at the mirror and then back at Jimin. "I was looking at the room." "The room?" "Yes." Jimin raised an eyebrow. "The room must be very interesting." "It is." Jimin smiled wider. "You're terrible at lying." Jungkook laughed and shook his head. "Fine. Maybe I was looking at you. Maybe. Okay. I was." Jimin walked toward him, still smiling. "And why were you looking at me?" Jungkook opened his mouth, but no answer came out immediately. Because the truth was simple. Jimin had a way of making it difficult for him to look away. It wasn't just his appearance. Jungkook had known Jimin for years. He had seen him exhausted, frustrated, playful, serious, nervous, confident, and completely ridiculous. He had seen him without makeup, with messy hair, wearing oversized clothes, laughing until he couldn't breathe, and falling asleep in the most uncomfortable places. Yet somehow, Jimin still managed to surprise him. There was something about the way Jimin smiled. Something about the way he looked at people when they were speaking. Something about his quiet kindness. And perhaps most dangerously, something about the way he could tease Jungkook until Jungkook forgot what he had been trying to say. Jungkook finally answered, "You just have that effect." "What effect?" "The effect where people can't stop looking at you." Jimin stared at him for a moment. Then he laughed. "That's ridiculous." "It's true." "You're exaggerating." "I'm not." Jimin sat beside him. "You think everyone is fascinated by me?" Jungkook nodded. "Pretty much." Jimin leaned closer. "Everyone." Jungkook smiled. "Especially me." For a second, neither of them said anything. The room suddenly felt quieter. Jimin looked at Jungkook, and Jungkook looked back at him. Then Jimin broke the silence with a playful laugh. "You're becoming too honest." Jungkook smiled. "Maybe I'm tired of pretending." "Pretending what?" "That you don't know how charming you are." Jimin shook his head. "I don't." "Yes, you do." "I really don't." "You walk into a room, and people immediately notice you." "That's because I'm loud." "You're not loud." "I can be." "You can also be quiet and still make everyone look at you." Jimin looked away, suddenly embarrassed. "You're making me uncomfortable." "Good. Why is that good?" "Because usually you're the one making me uncomfortable." Jimin laughed. "That sounds like your problem." "It is." Their laughter filled the studio. Neither of them knew that a simple conversation like this could become one of those moments that stayed in the memory long after the music stopped. It was not dramatic. There was no grand declaration, no cinematic rain, no complicated confession. Just two friends sitting on the floor after rehearsal, talking about something they probably should have dismissed as a joke. But sometimes the smallest conversations revealed the biggest feelings. And Jungkook had always been particularly vulnerable to Jimin's charm. It had started years ago, long before either of them understood what friendship could become. Jimin had always been the person who noticed things. If Jungkook was unusually quiet, Jimin noticed. If Jungkook looked exhausted, Jimin noticed. If Jungkook was nervous before performance, Jimin noticed. And sometimes, Jimin didn't even need words. A simple glance was enough. That evening, Jimin noticed that Jungkook seemed unusually thoughtful. "You're quiet." "I'm always quiet." "No, you're not." Jungkook smiled. "Maybe I'm thinking." "That's dangerous." "Why?" "Because whenever you think too much, you become philosophical." "I could be philosophical." "You once spent 20 minutes explaining why banana milk tastes better from a particular cup." "That was an important discussion." Jimin laughed. "It was not." "It absolutely was." Jimin leaned back against the wall. "So what are you thinking about now?" Jungkook looked at him. "You." Jimin's smile disappeared for half a second. "Me?" "Yeah." "Why?" Jungkook hesitated. "Because sometimes I wonder if you realize how much people care about you." Jimin looked down. "That's different." "Ow! People support us because of what we do. That's not what I mean." Jimin became quiet. Jungkook continued. "I'm talking about you. Not the stage. Not the music. Not the performances. Just you." Jimin slowly looked up. And I think sometimes you forget that you're important to people even when you're not doing anything." Jimin didn't immediately answer. His expression softened. "You really mean that?" "Of course." A small smile returned to Jimin's face. "Thank you." Jungkook nodded. "Anytime." The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable. It felt warm. Comfortable. Familiar. That was the strange thing about their relationship in this fictional story. They didn't need constant conversation. Sometimes being together was enough. A few minutes later, Jimin stood up. "Come on." "Where?" "I'm hungry." "You're always hungry. And you're coming with me." "Why?" "Because you owe me food." "I owe you food." "You said I was charming." "That doesn't mean I owe you food." "It does now." Jungkook laughed as he stood. "You make your own rules." "Of course." They left the studio together. The hallway was nearly empty. Their footsteps echoed against the floor. Jimin walked slightly ahead, humming a song under his breath. Jungkook watched him for a moment. Then he smiled to himself. Maybe he was right. Maybe no one could completely resist Jimin's charm. But Jungkook had learned something even more dangerous. He didn't want to resist it. At the restaurant, they found a quiet table in the corner. Jimin immediately opened the menu. "I want this." "You haven't even looked at the menu." "I know what I want." "What?" "Everything." Jungkook laughed. "Of course." Jimin looked across the table. "You're paying." "Why?" "Because you said I was charming." "You're using that against me?" "Absolutely." Jungkook shook his head. "You're impossible." Jimin smiled. "And yet you're still here." Jungkook paused. "Yeah." Jimin waited. Jungkook smiled. "I'm still here." The answer sounded simple, but somehow it carried more weight than either expected. As they ate, their conversation moved from music to movies, from food to memories, from embarrassing moments to dreams for the future. Jimin laughed so hard at one of Jungkook's stories that he nearly dropped his chopsticks. "Stop." "Why?" "Because you're embarrassing yourself." "You're the one laughing." "Because you're funny." "I wasn't trying to be funny." "That makes it worse." Jungkook laughed. Then he noticed something. Jimin's eyes were brighter than they had been in the studio. He looked relaxed. Happy. And Jungkook found himself thinking the same thing again. How could someone be so naturally captivating? It wasn't perfection. Jimin wasn't perfect. He could be stubborn. He could be dramatic. He could become competitive over the smallest things. He could tease people mercilessly. But perhaps that was exactly what made him charming. He was real. He was warm. He was unpredictable. And when he cared about someone, he cared deeply. After dinner, they walked outside. The night air was cool. Jimin pulled his jacket closer around himself. "It's cold." "I told you to bring a thicker jacket." "You're always right, aren't you?" "Usually." Jimin rolled his eyes. "Don't become arrogant." "Too late." They walked slowly. Then Jimin stopped. Jungkook. Earlier. What? When you said I have an effect on people. Yeah. Did you really mean it? Jungkook turned toward him. Yes. Even me? Jungkook smiled. Especially you. Jimin stared at him. Then he laughed quietly. You really don't know when to stop. No, that's dangerous. So you keep telling me. Jimin shook his head. Come on. They continued walking. Neither noticed how the conversation had changed something. Not dramatically. Not immediately. But enough. The next morning, they were back in the studio. The others arrived one by one. The room became noisy again. Music played. People talked. Someone complained about being hungry. Someone else searched for a missing phone. Jimin sat on the couch, scrolling through his phone. Jungkook entered the room and immediately looked toward him. Jimin noticed. Why are you looking at me again? Jungkook smiled. Habit. The others laughed. Jimin covered his face. See? This is why I shouldn't talk to you. Jungkook sat beside him. You started it. I did not. You asked me. And you gave a ridiculous answer. It was an honest answer. Jimin looked at him. Still honest? Jungkook nodded. Still. Jimin smiled. For a moment, the noise around them seemed to disappear. It was only a glance. Only a smile. But it was enough. Later during rehearsal, Jimin struggled with one particular movement. He tried again. And again. Jungkook watched quietly. Finally, he approached. Try turning your shoulder slightly earlier. Jimin looked at him. Like this. Almost. Jungkook demonstrated. Jimin copied him. Like that. Exactly. Jimin smiled. Got it. See? You're useful sometimes. Sometimes. Don't get too proud. Jungkook laughed. They practiced together. The moment was ordinary, but there was something comforting about it. They understood each other's movements. They knew when to step closer, when to give space, when to joke, when to stay quiet. Years of shared experiences had created a kind of communication that didn't always require words. During a break, Jimin sat down and wiped his forehead with a towel. Jungkook handed him a bottle of water. Thanks. You need to drink more. Yes, Mom. Jungkook laughed. I'm serious. I know. Jimin took a sip. Then he looked at Jungkook. You take care of everyone. Jungkook shrugged. Not everyone. Most people. Maybe. What? Jungkook thought for a moment. Because I care. Jimin's expression softened. You care a lot. Is that bad? No. Jimin smiled. It's one of the things I like about you. Jungkook froze. Jimin immediately noticed. What? Nothing. You froze. I didn't. You did. Jungkook looked away. Jimin laughed. Are you embarrassed? No, you are. Stop laughing. You're cute when you're embarrassed. Jungkook looked at him. Don't say things like that. What? Because... Jungkook couldn't finish. Jimin waited. Then he smiled mischievously. See? I still have an effect on you. Jungkook laughed. Unfortunately. Unfortunately? Fortunately. Jimin smiled. Better. The day continued. There were rehearsals, conversations, jokes, mistakes, and countless small moments. And through all of it, Jungkook found himself repeatedly drawn toward Jimin. Sometimes it was a smile. Sometimes a laugh. Sometimes a simple, "Are you okay?" Sometimes it was nothing more than Jimin sitting nearby. Perhaps charm wasn't always about appearance. Sometimes charm was the ability to make another person feel seen. And Jimin seemed to possess that ability naturally. He could make people laugh when they were tired. He could turn an awkward moment into something comfortable. He could make someone feel less alone without even realizing it. That was why his presence could be so powerful. And Jungkook knew it better than anyone in this fictional story. One evening, after another long rehearsal, the two found themselves alone again. Jimin was packing his bag. Jungkook stood near the door. "You ready?" "Almost." Jungkook waited. Jimin zipped his bag. Then he looked up. "You're waiting for me?" "Yeah." "You could go ahead." "I know, but you're still waiting." "Yeah." Jimin smiled. "Why?" Jungkook shrugged. "Because I want to." Jimin looked down for a moment. Then he walked toward him. "Okay." They left together. Outside, the city was glowing. Cars moved along the streets. People hurried home. The night was alive. Jimin looked around. "It's beautiful." Jungkook looked at him instead. "Yeah." Jimin didn't notice. Or perhaps he did. "Are you looking at the city?" "Of course." Jimin turned. "Liar." Jungkook smiled. "You caught me." They laughed. And that was the beauty of their story. It didn't need a dramatic ending. It didn't need a perfect confession. Sometimes affection existed in the quietest places. In shared meals. In waiting for someone after rehearsal. In handing over a bottle of water. In remembering someone's favorite snack. In noticing when their smile was different. In staying when leaving would have been easier. Jimin's charm wasn't something he could switch on and off. It was simply part of who he was. And Jungkook, despite all his attempts to pretend otherwise, had always been especially susceptible to it. One night, Jimin finally asked the question that had been lingering between them. "Do you really think no one can resist me?" Jungkook smiled. "I think everyone has a weakness. And I'm yours." Jungkook looked at him. Maybe, definitely." Jimin laughed. "That's the most honest thing you've said all week." Jungkook smiled. "Don't get used to it." Too late. They stood there laughing. For a moment, everything felt simple. Two friends. Two people who trusted each other. Two people who had shared countless memories. And in this fictional story, perhaps that was the real reason Jimin's charm was impossible to resist. It wasn't because he was flawless. It wasn't because he tried to impress anyone. It was because he could be completely himself. And Jungkook understood that. Maybe better than anyone. As they walked home, Jimin suddenly spoke. "Jungkook." "Yeah." "Thanks for staying." Jungkook looked at him. "Always." Jimin smiled. "Promise." Jungkook smiled back. "Promise." And they continued walking beneath the city lights. The night was quiet. The streets were bright. And somewhere between laughter and silence, between teasing and sincerity, they carried another memory with them. A small one. A simple one. But sometimes the smallest memories became the ones people remembered forever. Because charm wasn't always about being noticed. Sometimes it was about being unforgettable. And Jimin had never needed to try very hard to be unforgettable. Especially to Jungkook. In the end, perhaps the title said everything. No one could completely resist Jimin's charm. But for Jungkook, resisting had never really been the goal. Maybe he had stopped trying a long time ago. Maybe every smile, every laugh, every playful glance had simply made the decision for him. And perhaps that was why, whenever Jimin entered the room, Jungkook's eyes seemed to find him almost automatically. Not because he was trying to stare, not because he had planned to, but because some people simply had a presence that was impossible to ignore. Jimin was one of those people, and in their fictional little world, Jungkook was perhaps the person most easily captivated by it. The next day, everything would return to normal. Another rehearsal. Another schedule. Another performance. Another long day. But somewhere in between all those busy moments, there would probably be another smile. Another joke. Another glance. And another quiet reminder that some connections are built not through grand gestures, but through thousands of ordinary moments shared over time. Jimin looked back one final time before they went their separate ways. "Good night, Jungkook." "Good night, Jimin." Jimin smiled. That familiar smile. The one that always seemed to make Jungkook forget what he was about to say. Jungkook watched him walk away. Then he shook his head and laughed quietly. Unbelievable. From a distance, Jimin turned around. "What?" Jungkook smiled. "Nothing." Jimin narrowed his eyes suspiciously. "You're talking about me again, aren't you?" "Maybe." Jimin laughed. And just like that, the moment disappeared into the night. But the smile remained. Because sometimes, when someone has a certain kind of charm, they don't need to do anything extraordinary. They simply have to be themselves. And Jimin had always been very good at that. For Jungkook, perhaps that was the most irresistible thing of all. This story is fictional and created for entertainment and fan fiction purposes. It does not claim that the events, thoughts, conversations, or relationships described here actually happened. Jimin and Jungkook are real public figures, while the dialogue and storyline above are entirely imagined. Disclaimer. This video/article is a work of fiction and fan-created storytelling made for entertainment purposes only. The story, dialogue, emotions, interactions, and situations involving Jimin and Jungkook are entirely imagined and fictionalized. They are not intended to represent real events, private conversations, personal feelings, or the actual relationship between the individuals mentioned. This content does not claim that Jimin or Jungkook actually said, did, or experienced anything described in the story. Any resemblance to real-life events or circumstances is purely coincidental. We respect Jimin, Jungkook, BTS, and all individuals mentioned as real people and artists. This content is created solely as creative fan fiction and should not be interpreted as factual news or confirmed information. Please do not treat this story as real news or factual information. Thank you for supporting creative fan content and respecting the privacy of the artists.